So as far as the design build contract model, this is just a figure trying to show how the spec standards and design additional processes roll into it. Then we go to the EOR, engineer of record, going down the shop drawings, construction, and as-builts. And then we also have the ATCs, alternative technical concepts. How many people have worked with alternative technical concepts? A few people. And actually, to me, what was sort of interesting yesterday with industry, that seemed to get the most discussion by all. So why do you think industry would be highly interested in ATCs? It's what? Secrets, yeah. ATCs, does anybody want to give me their definition of what an ATC is as far as maybe what you heard? No thoughts yet? When is the ATC allowed?
During the RFP.
Sorry?
During the RFP.
Major criteria. Well, it makes a contract here during the advertise and award process. When is the ATC made available to the contractors?
During the RFP. I mean, when we have request for proposals, we have some time for them to submit.
Digest information, yeah. So ideally here the way, under design bid build, what process do we have already set up to have contractors inquiries for information and clarification? What's that called? About addendums?
Yes.
Okay, so ATCs is similar, but it comes after the RFQ, RFP, depending upon the timing that the state determined, to bring in those potential addendums depending upon what the state's criteria is that they may or may not want to pay a stipend for and or share with others. Okay, so that's where that sort of mirrors the design bid build process. Okay, is that, you got any more comments on that, Leah? Any other comments as far as that, the ATC's timing?
No, I mean, usually we have 4 weeks after that we release our RFP for them to review the document and come up with alternatives, because ATC is more likely deviate from whatever we have criteria in the RFP. So they come back with some kind of innovation or some different methods, or I mean, even sometimes equipment, material, means and methods with their ATC.
Okay, so the thing is, again, when you think in process, time, and money, that's where you need to try to map the process, recognize who your experts are, recognize that next action you may want to take, and that time frame. Because if you really want to save time and or money, you need to somewhat have that initially on a template or mapped out, so you know basically your own critical path method is the way to look at it, and then figure out where you have a little bit of maneuvering room to allow more time, and I'll get into that more detail, but you comment?
One of the things to think about when you're working tomorrow in developing an RFP, think of yourself as being on the design builder team. And so you're developing an RFP, but you want some flexibility to allow ATCs, because ATCs are really the way that that team can come in and win that project. So they're spending an extensive amount of time looking at the RFP and looking at ways that they can come in and provide innovation that'll allow them to be the low bid and potentially win that job with the A+B consideration. So just be thinking of that tomorrow. Be thinking of yourself as the owner, representing the department, and also as a design builder, and how you would want to tailor an RFP to benefit the department in that release.
Yes.
One of the other things, the construction folks in the room, well, I guess for the design folks too, this is an opportunity for you to be able to collaborate with the design folks in what may be anticipated as a potential ATC for your job. Okay, this is where, based on your experience, seeing what contractors do on typical jobs, you may say, you know, I bet somebody's going to come in here and decide we should phase it, we should build it from the outside in, or vice versa, or whatever the case may be. this is a good point in the process when the RFP is being developed for y'all to anticipate those kind of things that you can share with design personnel.
Yeah, and the thing about anticipating, again, that with Leah bringing up the 4 weeks as an example, is that depending upon what criteria you establish for your ATCs, that could overwhelm her group because they got to look at all of them, give them a fair shake, or depending upon your criteria and what you put in the contract, it can help sieve it out to help minimize what's given to her. In other words, some of the states with ATCs, as an example, Virginia said anything outside the current NEPA footprint, they will not accept any ATCs. However, like Missouri, if it's outside the ATC and the contractor wants to add additional time to the environmental process and their cost, the contractors can do that. So again, depending on what state you're in, but that gets back to what criteria you guys eventually establish. Okay? So and as far as ATCs, and what I was trying to bring up now is I'll mention a little bit more as we go on, that yesterday with industry, the big thing was for ATCs, how many were there yesterday? A few, yeah. Pointed out that nationally for federal highways, ATCs, when we did the Everyday Count initiative for innovative contracting 4 or 5 years ago, ATCs was the #1 hot button nationally for all agencies and all contractors. And why do you think that would be? It's what? Trust, yeah. As far as sharing risk, and the point would be, hey, if we come to you, DOT, and give you our idea, you going to share it with everybody? Well, no, with ATCs, what do we have in place to prevent that? The stipend, and I'll mention that in a little bit more, but the idea is, hey, contractors, if you want to keep that as your, like I mentioned yesterday, was that card in your hip pocket to win the award, you're sort of rolling the dice whether the state will score that enough and or in your bid enough, because there may be other ATCs that get a benefit value and rolled into the low bid that could pass you. But by making it a stipend and part of your contract, that could help throw the numbers into your favor. So again, with ATCs, that's an opportunity for the contracting community to provide some ingenuity to help make the actually show additional cost, ideally cost, time, and savings. Though some ATCs, and for some states, procurement process for design build, they've actually gone up for some additional time and or cost because they actually provided a higher level of scope and improvements for that facility. So again, just things to keep in mind and consider.
What are some examples of ATCs?
I'm sorry?
What are some examples of ATCs?
Here, we'll get into that in just a second. We're headed that way. Good question.